Coming up on today's episode of the Moneypants Superpower Hour. Do your teens and preteens think they're too old for Moneypants? Are you having trouble getting your teens on board with the program? We'll talk about the easiest way to convince your teen that Moneypants isn't just a gimmick for 5-year-olds. In fact, if properly applied, Moneypants actually becomes more beneficial the older your kids get. We're going to talk about the change in Moneypants that needs to happen as your kids are transitioning into adulthood. And we're going to explain how to reframe Moneypants for teens, so instead of being annoyed by it, they will feel genuinely grateful for your help. Plus, we'll hear from 3 teens and what their experience has been. All this and more, but first, the joke of the day.
So I tried donating blood today. Never again. Too many stupid questions. Whose blood is it? Where did you get it? Why is it in a bucket? Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Moneypants Superpower Hour. We're your hosts, Hannah and Fontaine Judd, and we're the proud parents of 8 sons and 7 daughters, ranging in age from newborn to college student. We're both BYU graduates and the creators of Moneypants. Head on over to CaptainMoneyPants.com to learn more about what we do and what we're all about. We believe every person on this planet has been given at least one superpower to help them accomplish their unique mission in life. But the only way to unlock those superpowers is through work ethic. That's when greatness happens. And that's where Moneypants comes in. Moneypants is the complete tool set for cultivating work ethic in all aspects of a person's life. Today's topic is all about using Moneypants to support your teenagers in the goals that they set and the things that they're trying to accomplish. So, and I think I need to be a disclaimer here that this is definitely a work in progress, Hannah. We have 15 children, but we've only had 5 teenagers. Well, no, we've only had 1 graduate from teenagerhood.
Well, no, 2. Oh, no.
He's still a teenager.
Gosh,
we have 2 kids out of the house.
He's so much more mature, though, than other teenagers.
We have 2 kids out of the house, but only one has actually made it out of teenagerdom, and that's our 20-year-old daughter. But he's 19 in a couple of days. We'll have a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And we have a 12-year-old coming up who will be 13 here soon.
If you talk to us in like 10 or 12 years, we'll be experts by then. But right now, we don't know what we're getting into.
So
no. When I had my first teenager, people have different experiences with different teenagers, but I called my mother bawling because I knew I was going to have teenagers for the next 20 years. So just to, put it in perspective.
It's a work in progress, but these are some of the things we've learned and some of the mistakes we've made as we talk on the podcast, Hannah, about we're not the experts. We're just sharing what we know.
Yeah, we can only share what we know, and what we know we don't know.
The nice thing is, though, we don't dispense a lot of advice that I hear from other people, which I know is wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the nice thing.
And we're going to talk about some of that advice, and it boils my blood sometimes.
But having said that, I thought this would be a great place to put in, actually, you thought this would be a great place to put in the kind of an update.
Oh, yeah. So one of our other podcasts was about teenagers and cars. And
we had Dr. Jones, your father.
Yes, Dr. Jones, who
had some great insights.
Raised 8 sons and 3 daughters, and he actually has gone through the whole teenager thing
successfully.
And
all of them.
We actually learned a lot from interviewing him. I don't know why I didn't interview him sooner. He's my dad. But we learned a lot about teenagers and cars talking to him. Mm-hmm. And he was a wealth of experience. And so we took some of the advice that he gave on that podcast and applied it. Up to this point, there was a lot of tension between us and our teenage son over the car because we were paying for his car insurance and he had earned the car and it was still registered in our name and it had created a lot of tension and conflicts between us because basically the car, it was his, but if he messed up with it, it was his mistakes were affecting us. Right. And so after that podcast, we contacted our son and said, hey, look, we goofed up when we let you earn the car. We said that we would pay for all these things. And
we would pay for repairs. We would pay for insurance.
Yeah, we would pay for all the repairs on your car. We would do all this.
Turns out that was a mistake.
Yeah, it's caused a bit of tension between us. So we worked things out with him, explained that we had made that mistake, and he understood. And so we got his car up and running, got it so it could be registered, and he bought himself some insurance, and we gave him an early birthday present of AAA. And we sent him off on his way. And it has just really helped our relationship with him. Like, you would think it would be the opposite, where you'd be like, oh, wouldn't that hurt his feelings? Or no, it just it got rid of an elephant in the room, or, just a tension. And
it was just weird though, Hannah.
It has helped our relationship so much to have him pay for everything for his own car.
And he likes it though. That's
he
the
likes
weird
it
thing.
too, and he feels more grown up, and it was kind of shocking to him. Oh gosh, insurance is what, $150 a month? Registration, didn't he have to pay like $1,000?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. We live in California. But anyway, the thing is since that happened, it
was the transfer fee and the new title and all that.
Yeah, it was, ridiculous. But since that happened, he started a new job in LA and took his car down there. And he's gotten 3 parking tickets and a ticket for the car not being registered yet.
No, it was just 1 ticket, but it became 3 because the car wasn't registered.
Okay, he's gotten a ticket and he's gotten in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And the car accident, supposedly wasn't his fault. He got run off the road or whatever. But the thing is when he called and told us this, it had just happened. And instead of... At first, there was this tension of, oh no, he's ruined the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went, no, it's his car. And we were able to go, okay, you need to do this. And we were able to feel sorry for him and be supportive of him and go, okay, this is what you do with your insurance. This is how you, and able to walk him through it. And it was...
I don't know if feeling sorry for him is the right term. We'd feel bad.
Sympathetic.
Yeah, sympathetic.
We could feel sympathetic.
We didn't feel sorry for him.
Instead of feeling frustrated and were you being reckless or, wondering... Yeah, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if he was or wasn't. It was his car, and it was his responsibility. And so we could be helpful to him, and we could be sympathetic, and there was no strain on the relationship. So I highly recommend that if you haven't listened to Teens and Cars, that you go listen to it and listen to Dr. Jones. Apparently, he knows what he's talking about.
We have now confirmed that is the correct
we tried it,
course of action.
And I have been so pleased.
Well, and Dr. Jones, he bought his own car. He fixed his own car. He did the upkeep on his own car.
As a teenager, yeah.
And so he learned all those critical lessons when he was younger. And he even says, when he took such good care of it. This is a teenage boy, teenage boys are not known for how well they take care of cars. But he took such good care of this car that he ended up selling it for 4 times what it was worth.
Wait,
later.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't even remember that. That's incredible. Wow.
So it's a correct principle.
That's the teenage son. That's the experience with your teenage son that you want.
Yeah.
So anyway, that piece of advice about the cars, I'm going to say we tried it, and now I fully endorse that.
Before we fully gave all the responsibility to our son for the car, there was that underlying tension and frustration and anxiety. And once we gave it all to him, no strings attached, 100% all on him, it actually improved the relationship.
Yeah, it was counterintuitive, though.
Yep.
You would think that it would improve your relationship to be helping pay for things with the car, but it was the exact opposite. And so counterintuitive, we've learned and we've tried it, and that's exactly the way to go. So
having said that, let's move into our continue our topic of the day, which is, teens and helping them with their goals and supporting them in the things that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So one of the funny things about Moneypants is, and I noticed this too, when your kids hit a certain age, they start thinking, Moneypants, that's for younger kids. I'm grown up. I'm above this sort of thing.
Right, because chores are for little kids.
Yeah. And so at one point we were hitting that point and going, oh gosh, yeah, what do we do? But a lot of our clients have teenagers, have kids in junior high and high school.
And older,
and
actually.
So they're kind of like, yeah, it would have been good if we had done Moneypants when our kids were younger, but we kind of missed that. And now that they're too old for it. And
too late.
I guess we can't do it. Okay. And so we've been looking at that with our own kids and our own family. And we have a couple of pointers on that. For one thing, a lot of times like chore apps are for little kids. Chore apps are for 5-year-olds. They're animated. Oh, you got a star. How great.
Yeah.
Yay, 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 yay. Or wow, wow, wow. That's so great. And the kids just love it because it's sparkly.
Yeah, sparkly, or a sticker on the fridge, or a star, or all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of gimmicky. And so rightfully so.
Well, that's also why a lot of these little point charts or these chore charts fizzle too, because that gimmick will only last for so long. And
and you're like, isn't it fun to move the magnets on the fridge and put the magnets here
until it equates to something real, it won't last.
Yeah,
whether it's privileges or money or otherwise.
Yeah,
it's a gimmick.
But that might be fun for a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, but it's not fun for an 8th grader. It's not fun for your senior in high school.
No.
Oh, mommy, may I please move the magnets on the fridge? May I please? Anyway, so that's when you say I have this app, automatically a teenager's thinking, thanks, Mom. I don't need magnets on the fridge anymore. Thank you. That's not what I want. And nor will I, please don't tell my friends. And no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But Moneypants is actually different because honestly, like Moneypants, you actually can't take advantage of it until you're in junior high and high school. And I say that because we start Moneypants with 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
And, teach them to do their chores and have a list of things that they're working on. Like, oh, you didn't wet your bed tonight. Yay. You cleared your place from the table.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom.
Pick
Yes,
up your
Dad.
toys before the meal. We'll put things like that on their chart. And we pick all their goals out and stuff for them. They're not able to create their own budget. They don't know what they want to try. I sign them up for classes. It's not...
Yeah, could you imagine your 4-year-old going, Mother, my new goal is to learn to read properly and to do swim lessons. Like,
yes,
they don't know.
They don't know. So you have to go... You have to pretty much do it for them.
Right.
But by the time about age 7 or 8, they start to be able to understand a little bit more of the concepts. It starts to become a lot more fun. But by age 12 to 15, that's when Moneypants becomes more interesting. Because by the time your kids are 12, they start to know what they want.
Right.
And maybe even a little bit before that, even like 10 or 11.
It depends
on the kid. But they start to develop, their personalities really coming out at that point.
Yeah.
And they start going, I want to learn how to cook. I want to know how to do this. I want to know how to do that.
Well, they're trying new things. They're discovering things about themselves. They're putting on new hats, personalities, discovering their talents. Like all that just kind of coalesces right about then.
Yeah. And so the key is to recognize that transition. Okay, my kids, they're starting to want to make their own decisions now. And they should. That's age appropriate. They should be wanting to make their own decisions. And so you don't want to fight that and say, no, you're going to do this and you're going to make these goals and stuff like that. You don't want to fight them. You want to work with them.
Right. No, it's like that great scene in that cartoon classic, the Disney cartoon, The Sword in the Stone, where the wizard turns Wart into a bird and he's out there flying and and he's fighting the wind at first, and the owl Archimedes, he goes, no, don't fight it. Go with it. Use the wind to take you to greater heights. And the little bird, the kid who's turned into a bird, he starts going and using the wind to his advantage. And he goes, oh, I get it now. So instead of fighting against the wind, which would be, similar to you fighting against your teenagers and what they want, go with it. Use that it's like a Tai Chi move where you actually absorb the energy of the other person and go with them. Anyway, the same idea where take that energy that they have and that independence that they want and let them make their own goals and make their own spending plans. So don't fight against it.
Yeah, they want to become independent, and that's the goal. And so take that desire for independence and go, I'm going to help you become independent. You want to do that on your own? Let's get you doing it on your own.
And all of a sudden you go from being a commander and telling them what to do, you become more like a coach or a mentor, helping them accomplish their own things. And it changes the dynamic. And that's correct. That's what you want with your teenagers. Instead of fighting against them and telling them what to do, because they don't want that, you're going to say, okay, what do you want to do and how can I help? Which is it's actually really cool when this happens.
So, yeah, because you want your teens to make their own goals. You want them to become independent. That's what you're trying to do, is help them become independent along with developing who they are and becoming who they were meant to be. And so Moneypants.
So at its core, Moneypants is essentially a goal-setting app to help you make and achieve your goals. And it's within the family unit. And so it's just this cohesive, everybody's part of a team, everybody's trying to accomplish their own goals, make themselves better, and everybody's responsible to other family members, and mom and dad are like the coaches, and that's what Moneypants is at its core.
Yeah, and we talked about that in the Proper Goal Setting podcast. It was one of our earlier podcasts. So Moneypants takes all the principles of proper goal setting and it puts it into an app. And these are principles. These aren't gimmicks for 5-year-olds.
That's the key. That's why it's so much more fun the older you get, because you can craft these goals. Really cool goals.
Yeah. So achieving goals, the principles to how to achieve the things that you set out to achieve, those principles don't change whether you're a grandmother or a teenager. If there's something you want to accomplish, there are certain things you need to do. And so Moneypants just facilitates that. For example, your goals, they need to be specific. They need to be measurable goals. They need to be written down. You need to track your progress, and you got to report to somebody.
To be effective.
Yeah, to be effective. If you want to achieve your goals and you want to achieve them faster, those are things you need to do. And Moneypants, it just facilitates that.
We did a whole podcast on that. It's great. It's one of our most popular podcasts. Well, along those lines, we have one very successful Moneypants client who, what he does is he holds payday every week. And then right after payday, he has goal setting with every member of the family. And they review the progress on their goals. They adjust as necessary. They create new ones. And basically, he's using Moneypants as a weekly goal setting tool. And it's funny because the dad is developing his talent for cooking and composing music and continuing his education. And his kids are doing the exact same thing.
In fact, I'll spill the beans there. He actually composed the great song we heard in the last podcast. So anyway, if you're curious what this dad's doing.
But the point is, though, is that Moneypants isn't a gimmick, where this is actually how you should be living your life. It's just a proper goal setting principles, and it incorporates every member of the family to help out as a team unit. And it's the recipe for living a satisfying life.
Yeah, you want to be satisfied as a teenager. You become satisfied by reaching your goals. So, and having a balanced goals, like reaching your goals socially, reaching your goals physically, reaching your goals artistically, reaching your goals academically.
Yes.
If you want to live a satisfying life as a teenager, you need to be reaching goals that you are setting for yourself. And you want to do that the rest of your life. This isn't, we're doing this for 5-year-olds. No, this is a habit that you want to live a satisfying life. Do this now, you'll be satisfied now, and do it the rest of your life, and your whole rest of your life will be a lot more enjoyable.
Well, and that's just that we define successful people, and that's the problem is in society we define successful people in different ways. A lot of times it's how much money you have. I suggest it's slightly different. Being successful is achieving your potential and fulfilling your unique mission in life, and this is how you do that. You don't have, I know plenty of people who are very rich who are not happy. I know plenty of people who are very poor and are very happy. How's that possible?
Yeah, that's funny because for your job, you had to, for a long time, analyze interviews of people who are very wealthy, get a lot of their personal stories. So you actually have seen a lot of people who are wealthy but not happy.
Right.
And so,
money.
So what is it again? What's success?
Success is achieving your unique mission in life. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay.
Finding what it is that you're put on this planet to do and doing it. Because then your life is in line with what, and call it what you want, with the fates or with karma or your God-given mission or whatever you want. When you're in line with that, that's where happiness comes. And we suggest.
See, I always thought that happiness came from progressing.
It's the same thing. It's identical.
Oh, I guess, yeah, it is the same. And that's how if you're not progressing, if you're not becoming better, you're not happy.
Yeah.
You have to be progressing your entire life. If you think that, when I turn 50, whatever, 58 or whatever, I'm going to retire and then I'm going to stop working and doing things. I lived in a retirement town. And I saw what happened when people would do that, where basically their life stopped and they stopped working on things. They stopped progressing. They became very unhappy. Mm-hmm. And so you can't ever go, I'm going to stop working. I'm going to stop becoming better.
Yeah.
As soon as you do that, you will become unhappy. You've got to continually be developing yourself in all areas in a balanced way. Not just academically, not just physically. You got to you got to develop yourself with relationships. You got to develop emotionally, spiritually,
artistically.
If you see yourself improving, you'll be so much happier, so much more satisfied with who you are and who you're becoming and where you're going, because you'll be going somewhere.
So having said all that, we kind of gave a recap of our son with the and how supporting him and his car situation. And then we kind of set up why Moneypants works so well for teenagers. And actually it's geared more towards older children. Yes, it works great for younger children, but it actually, you kind of hit your stride when you're using it as a teenager. Well, I want to talk now about how does this, a little more specific, how this applies to teenagers, and maybe even talk about some specific ideas. And then also how to deal with teens because they're very busy. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a single mom and some of the ideas that we kind of came up with working with her. And then also how to deal with rebellious teenagers. Maybe talk a little bit about our one daughter who's preparing for college. And then the importance of holding family counsel and getting teenagers on board so they understand what we're trying to accomplish. So I kind of hit those. We're going to kind of hit those points here. So I think first off, let's just talk real quick. How does this apply to teenagers? Well, we've bounced around it, but the number one thing we want to do is get them to start thinking, making it about them and their goals. So transition from you, the parents, telling them what to do to asking them what they're working on and what they want, to make sure that the app reflects their goals, because they'll take ownership of it. It'll be so much more meaningful for them. For instance, I remember when I was a kid, and I was, I think, about 16 years old, so maybe a sophomore, junior in high school, I got the piano playing bug. I wanted to learn how to play piano. It was just one of those things. I was in the jazz band, and I played the trumpet, but for some reason, watching that person who accompanied the jazz band, they played piano, and I watched other people play piano. I was mesmerized. I'm that is so cool. I wanted to learn how to play piano. So I made a goal for myself. And I went and I stopped and I practiced for a piano for an hour every day on my way home from school, though I had access to a church building and there was a piano in there, and I practiced for an hour every day. And I also wanted to get stronger because I felt like I was 90 pounds and 6 feet tall. I was this noodle, and I'm I want to be stronger. And so I had a workout regimen. And then I really wanted to play basketball. I loved basketball more than anything. It was the most magical thing, is to put an orange ball into a hoop. That was just, and so I would actually go to the park and practice for hours, free throws, layups, and 3-point shots. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get correct training and it was all wrong. But I knew as a teenager what I wanted. And I think most teenagers are like that.
Like if you were, like if I was your mom and I knew that your goals were to play piano and, develop your skills at basketball and stuff, then I can say, hey, I'm going to help you get correct training or point you in the right direction so you could actually achieve your goal. So
that would have been awesome.
So yeah, if I had been your mom and I could have, that's what I would have done.
And that's what I wanted.
And
I wanted that support so bad.
Yeah. But that wouldn't have offended you
No.
as a teenager. You would have been like, oh man, my mom's helping me or my dad's helping me.
What would have been so great, Hannah,
achieve this goal
is if my mom or dad had said, hey, I notice you love basketball. I know this guy. He's willing to give you coaching once a week, and it's going to cost you, $40 or whatever, or once a month. It's going to cost you this amount of money, but we could budget that in, and we could, maybe mom and I could subsidize it or whatever. But is that something you'd be willing to pay for? And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah. And if I have Moneypants and it's on my budget, like I would have loved something like that. But as a teenage kid, I didn't know I was doing it wrong.
No, sadly,
and I didn't have anybody teaching me.
No, his dad made a mistake, though. Instead of doing that, his dad made a mistake and looked at him and said, you're skinny and short. You're never going to be a professional basketball player. You're wasting your time. And that's
before I grew.
Yeah, that was before he grew. And so if that was really disappointing and that was frustrating, but you see how it would have been a different scenario if instead, like, wow, you're really interested in this. You really want to do this. Let me help you with what it is you're trying to do and what you want to learn.
And sometimes, Hannah, it's just a teenager going through a phase where they're really into painting. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to support the heck out of this for you. And they may go pro, or they may just be a lifelong hobby, or it may be they get tired of it after a year and go, yeah, you know what? Yeah. I thought I wanted to do that and I don't. But is there a bad guy in this situation? If you supported your kid in a goal or a dream they had, and then they're the ones to go, yeah, it really wasn't what I wanted after all. Who's the loser there? Nobody.
No.
Everybody wins when mom and dad support a teenager, and what they're trying to accomplish. And that's what we're talking about here.
Now, when we say support, it doesn't mean that you take over and say, okay, you're going to do this and you're going to do that and you're going to do this now because you want to play basketball. All right. You're going to,
instead, give them co-trainers and a workout regimen.
No. And all of a sudden they'll be like, you know what? No, thanks. Actually, no, I thought I did, but I've changed my mind.
We talk
so
about
you would approach it by asking them, say, first, you want to play basketball? Yeah. Well, what do you,
no.
Ask them questions.
You're doing it all wrong. Fontaine, do you want to play basketball? Yeah! That would have been my response, because I did.
Would you like to get some training?
Yes!
How do you think we can do that?
Yes.
What are your ideas?
That would have been so awesome.
But instead, ask them questions and get their, like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Would you like this? Would you like that?
And all of a sudden, before you know it, they have...
Would you like it if I did this helped you this way?
They have 10 goals right there, just like that. All of a sudden, their goals are filled up. And
But anyway, so it's very minor, like what I'm describing.
It's a reframing, Hannah.
It's just a reframing.
How can we help you?
Oh, you want to do that? Hey.
Well, no, and we talk about this, Hannah. If you dictate goals to your teens, they'll see you as a dictator, which is the opposite. Teenagers rebel against that. And that's the other thing, Hannah. I guess the flip side of that coin is they're super busy. Teenagers are really busy. They've got extracurricular activities. They're going to school full time. They've got heavy workload, whatever.
They've got social things going on.
They don't want you to put another thing on their plate. It becomes annoying. So instead, use Moneypants or whatever you're using to support them in their efforts. This isn't just a Moneypants thing. This is a in general thing where you don't have to be using the app to be able to accomplish these things. But because as soon as The nice thing about Moneypants, though, is as soon as the teenagers realize they're going to get paid for the goals that they want to achieve, they become grateful for that support.
Yeah, it totally changes. They come from resenting to being grateful for it.
So not only are you
but that's the secret.
Okay, not only are they the ones coming up with the goals, and not only are you there backing them and supporting them and rah-rah and cheering them on, but you're also paying them for accomplishing these goals. See what a great thing that is all of a sudden for these teenagers?
Okay, now I just have to add in here, it sounds like we are like, oh wow, these people are so wise and full of advice. Keep in mind that
Full of something.
No, keep in mind that we've done this wrong before. We sometimes have this good advice because we did it wrong.
We have done
previously.
It right. We have done it right, though.
But we've since figured out, oh, that was the problem. So as sharing this, it's not something that we're so smart. We just figured this out. We had to, figure it out.
This is just all those years and years of experience. That's all.
Yeah.
So, and I guess I'll give another example where there was one of our children, one of our teenagers made a bunch of goals on Moneypants and wasn't achieving them because they were too busy.
Yeah.
And Hannah, you talked to this person.
She was like, I want to achieve them. I don't have time, Mom. And I have this going on and that going on. And I just don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do my Moneypants goals. And I looked at her and I'm like, honey, it's a new semester. You're now participating in soccer and you're doing this and doing that. You need to change your goals so it's goals about what you're doing right now.
So Hannah, you helped her change her goals
and
to
all
line
of a sudden,
up with her current activities.
Yeah, I'm like, you have too much on your plate. This isn't supposed to be something extra. It's supposed to be helping you with what you're working on right now. And she goes, oh, she was like, I would love that. Because I'm like, you're in this class or this, your goals should be, and I just started listing them off. And she's like, yes, that would help me so much. Can we put it on there right now? And
well, no, she had the idea that the goals were set in stone. Now,
that they were extra things outside of what she was already doing.
Yeah, but also that she couldn't change them.
Yeah.
Unlike jobs where we suggest you keep those for a year, goals are a little more fluid and a little more flexible.
You can change them every week if you need to. I mean,
to fine tune them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if for whatever reason and this is just app specific, but if you're tracking them with the mastery, you can actually merge two similar goals. If you're like, I like this goal, but I want it to be more like this, go into the mastery portion of it and merge them together, and you'll still get credit, and all the milestones and everything still work. So it's kind of just a sidebar there.
Is that in the new version coming out?
No, it's in the current version.
It's in the current version.
It's
okay, it's already there.
So this daughter of ours, the goals went from a stress to a real help because you were able to line up, and that was the key, is you helped her change her goals to line up with the current activities and things that she was currently doing. So
yeah.
So just
it was a complete change in how she saw the app.
So this whole aspect of Moneypants, you got to look at it as like it's like a support tool for your teenagers. It really does. It's very effective in that if you set it up right. And again, that goes. The main principles are: ask your kids what they're trying to accomplish. Your teenagers say, "Hey, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Do you want that to make that one of your Moneypants goals? Because you're going to earn money for it if you do. And is it in line? I don't want it to be an extra burden for you. And if you set it up that way and they understand it, it becomes this great, really helpful tool. So that's how Moneypants applies to teenagers. Let's move on now to some like specific ideas of what you can use, literally what habits you can create and put in there. And the number one that we came up with was
acne.
Well, no, the idea was to kind of help your teenager, and more often than not, this is girls, but it applies to guys too, where come up with a skin care regimen.
Yeah, and they actually really appreciate it. Like, oh yes, I'm going to wash my face and do this or do that, or I'm not going to pick at my face.
And they get paid for it.
Yes, and you'll pay me for it.
And we've talked about this at the beginning of the podcast, but in other podcasts as well. For some reason, when you're accountable for a goal, and it's in Moneypants or it's written down and you get to mark it, and it's on that chart or whatever, or in the app, you're much more likely to do it.
Yeah.
And so if your kid wants to come up with a skincare regimen, it's going to be way more effective if it's in the app, or if they're using the correct goal setting principles. Okay.
Yeah. Like, for example, I had a daughter who wanted to try out for dance team, but knew that she needed to be in her splits, be able to do splits. And so she set a goal she had found on YouTube some things for how to increase your flexibility. And she's like, I want to just spend 15 minutes every day doing this to increase my flexibility. Great.
Put it in Moneypants.
Put it in Moneypants. And okay, yeah, that'll be one of my goals.
We had another kid who really wanted to be ready for the SATs. And so he set a goal.
During the summertime.
A half hour every day reviewing SAT prep on, was it
Khan Academy?
Was it Khan Academy?
Yeah.
Doing these online courses.
So that was one of the things they wanted, that was what they wanted to do anyway. So they put it on there.
Another son wanted to learn Python. So set a goal in Moneypants to watch a YouTube video every day. So the neat thing about all this, though, is that the teenagers, they do it on their own. We're not babysitting them, Hannah. Unlike the younger kids, like, did you brush your teeth? Did you use the toilet? Did you flush? When you're working with younger children, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever years old, you're kind of dictating their goals for them. With the teenagers, you don't have to do that, especially if they're the ones making the goals.
Yeah. In fact, you can just pretty much go, like, on Sundays, I can hand them the app and say, hey, I want you to look over your goals, make sure it's what you want to be working on right now.
Well, that brings us right into the very next topic.
I enter in the parent code. I'm like, here, update your goals, make sure they're in line with what you're working on right now.
Well, that brings us right to the very next topic, teens are really busy.
Yes.
And so when they make their own goals, they complete them. They're much more likely to complete them simply by virtue of having them written down, or in this case, in the app. But they're so busy that they forget to mark them. And now they're doing them.
They're doing them because it's actually what they want. And for some reason, it's magical. You write it down, you put it on Moneypants, you're like, way more, even if you're not marking it, you're way more likely to complete your goals just by virtue of having it written on that list.
But because teenagers are so busy, they forget to mark it. And so you had that great idea of, you found it was really helpful.
With teenagers, the babysitting that they do like is if you walk around in the evening, I have several teens, if you walk around with the evening with the app open, say, hey, quickly mark your points. Mark your points. And they're like, oh, okay. And it's just 10 seconds. But for some reason, just having a person come and say, hey, mark your points, they actually appreciate that. Yeah. But they don't have time to do it themselves, really. But they just appreciate it, though.
Or when you're in the car, maybe you're picking them up from school or from after basketball practice or youth group or whatever. And you just hand them the phone and say, hey, mark your points.
Yeah, but it's not they kind of like, oh, I don't have time for that. But when they mark it, they're like, oh, no, these are the things I wanted to do. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yeah, I got to do that. And so they appreciate it. And so that's one thing that you can do that I've noticed most teens actually appreciate.
So we've kind of covered how to apply and how to set up goals with your teenagers.
In fact, I would appreciate it if someone would do that for me, because I have the same problem. I'm like, I'm so busy. I have 2 twin newborns. So
then we covered ideas, and then we covered, teens are really busy, and you bring up a good point. So are mom and dad. Maybe it would be good to have mom and dad remind each other, help each other out. But then, so I want to move into...
You know what? I once made that my goal. One of my habits... No, one of the habits was to walk around and have everybody mark their points at night. And that was the best we ever did.
Oh, maybe we need to start...
Yeah, I think I'm going to put that back on my chart. Hey, that was a really great idea.
So... But some parents, they're doing this alone. So I want to talk now just a little bit about a single mom, where we know that this single mom has a lot on her plate. She's got some health issues. She's got stuff going on at court. She's got financial duress, and
she's going to school.
Oh, and she's going back to school and changing careers, and just a lot going on. And her teenagers were giving her, or her kids, I guess, were giving her a lot of pushback. And the teens were saying, hey, why? Why are we doing this stupid program? Because teens are notoriously, first of all, they're tired, but they also need to express independence. And so they're rebellious.
Actually do want to know why, though.
But they also, their brains are forming, and they do. They need the.
They actually do want to know why. They don't want to do things just because I told you so. They want to make up their own minds about things. And
so this was the trick, is this mom simply had her teenagers listen to the podcast.
And it's not really a trick. It was just basically answering the question why, so they could make up their own minds. Well, the solution then, how about that? Yeah, the solution
that she came up with. The
solution is let them find out why.
And so she started listening to the podcast with her teens, and all of a sudden her teens were like, oh, that's why we're doing this? Oh, I get it. That makes so much sense. And that is what I want. And the neat thing is now they're supporting the mom in what she was trying to do in her supporting them, but they didn't understand it. And so they were rebelling against it. But now that they understand the why, the whole team has come together and they're starting to click. And it's very, very satisfying.
So by letting your kids listen to the podcast, you're recognizing that they're older, that they have brains, and that they can, that they would want to know why.
And it shows the respect of, hey, I'm going to bring you into this understanding with me.
And it opens up discussion too, because like, I don't know, like
well, no, the neat thing was it also showed them, what work ethic will do for them, what the end goal is, and that it will help them accomplish their goals, and that it will actually keep them on track with the things they want. Like, it was very exciting for the teenagers to go, wait.
I can use it that way. Okay, wait, this actually is for older people.
that was a great example. I really like that. I thought that was cool. So now, though, I want to talk a little bit about a rebellious teenager who was like, and I think this is funny, but they're like, I'm moving out when I'm 14. And I don't know how many families have that, but I think it's more common than ever, where kids are like, they think, whether it's because of the media or because of the current state of independence espoused by schools and education or what, but there's this mentality that I can be on my own and be successful and I don't need parents. And so this one kid was like, well, Mom, I'm moving out of that, or Dad, whoever it was, I'm moving out of the house when I'm 14. And the parents could have gone two different ways with this. They could have said, oh, no, you're not. You're not ready, blah, blah, blah. Instead, and this is what we suggest, instead of dismissing this young man, say, oh, I see. Okay, well, if you're going to do that, Mom and I, we're going to help you make sure you're ready. That's only 2 years away. What I suggest is you listen to this podcast about, 40 things every person needs to know before leaving home, and you tell us what you need help with, and we'll help you get ready, because
that's a short amount of time. We got a lot of you have a lot of things you got to get ready in order to make that happen.
Got a lot of work to do.
I'll help you with it.
But we'll even help you pack. And all of a sudden, here's the neat thing about that is that, first of all, I think maybe the kid's just testing the waters.
Yeah.
Is it seeing if Mom and Dad are serious, or if they care, or what? Here's the neat thing: you don't have to fight back, and it does show that you care, because you're like, oh, well, if you're going to leave at 14, we're going to help make sure you're ready. And we're going to support you 100%. And all of a sudden, the kid goes,
let's get that and get you ready for that. And let's make sure you have what you need.
How does that change the dynamic between Mom and Dad, too? And that was the other thing that we forgot to mention earlier, is that when the teenagers are making their own goals and they're doing these things on their own, then they come to Mom and Dad and say, hey, I need help with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I don't know this. Or, yeah.
And all of a sudden, Mom and Dad aren't these tyrants demanding that they do these things. You're going to develop these habits and these goals. No, it's, Mom and Dad, I have these habits and goals, and this one's stumping me, or this one's giving me problems, or whatever. And all of a sudden, Mom and Dad would go back to the coaching responsibility, and the kids recognize that, oh, wait, Mom and Dad do know a lot and have a lot of knowledge and wisdom, and it really helps the relationship.
Yeah. The thing is that this kid saying he wanted to move out when he's 14, whether it's 14, 15, 16, 17, or 18, that's not that far away. And there's a lot that needs to happen before then. And so if they listen to the podcast, 40 Things Your Kids Should Know Before They Leave Home, they may not be planning on leaving home when they're 14, but that's still a lot to learn before they're 18. That's like, oh yeah, okay.
And if it's 14, it's even shorter amount of time to get them ready.
Yeah, and that's something your teens actually are thinking about and are like
anxious about.
Yeah. So like we just had our 17-year-old, we just had our 17-year-old daughter come to us and say, hey, I'm going to be moving out after the summer. And
she's already been accepted to college.
Yeah. And
she's kind of stressing out a little bit like, I'm not ready.
She kept telling us the past couple of weeks, she's like, can we sit down and talk about this? Like, I want to know what I need to be ready for and financially. And I want some specifics. And so we sat down with her last weekend and went over all the different costs and exactly what to expect and also what she could do about that. And we're going to be talking about that in our next podcast, actually. And that will be an enjoyable one for teens as well, a helpful one for teens as well. But this is something they're actually interested in of, hey, I'm going to be leaving home soon.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. When they recognize that the onus is on them for their future and mom and dad are backing away and giving them more opportunities to make their own goals, it's really neat because all of a sudden they start going, wait a minute. And they start thinking about the future. And all of a sudden they go, I don't know that I'm as ready as I thought. And instead of mom and dad hounding them to do things, they're coming to mom and dad for advice, which is a much healthier relationship. And that's what you want. You don't want to be, and that's the other thing. You want your kids to be independent. You don't want them to be dependent on you indefinitely. You want to start that transition. And there's a natural and logical point right about, and it's different for every kid, but right about the time they turn teenagers, somewhere between 12 and 15-ish, 10 to 15-ish, the kid starts going, wait a minute, I want to make my own choices and I want to make my own decisions.
I remember getting ready to leave off to college and going, Mom, I want to do the laundry. I've never done it. I want to know how.
Stop. What teenager wants to do the laundry? Yet there you are. And I remember when I was a teenager and I asked the people I was living with, I said, hey, I don't know how to cook. And I was 16, 17 years old. I wasn't about to leave per se, but I realized there was a serious dearth in my knowledge, a serious lack of knowledge when it comes. I had a basic understanding of how to do laundry, but I had no idea how to cook. And they're like, oh. And they started by teaching me how to brown some ground beef. And I remember being so proud of myself. I know how to brown ground beef. Yet it's really, really easy, but I didn't know how to do it and how to do it properly. And unless somebody shows you, like, how would you know that? So, and I appreciated them taking the time to demonstrate and explain these things. And I look at them as, not as tyrants telling me how to do things, but as mentors or as coaches helping me along the path and accomplishing the things that I wanted.
Didn't they teach you how to make bread pudding? And
No, I never learned that because it was more complicated. But I did learn a few basic...
You learned how to make meatloaf.
Meatloaf and a couple of basic dishes, because of them. Those are just a couple of tools.
Kept you alive in college.
At your disposal. The only other thing I would suggest that when working with teenagers, especially if you're starting out, Moneypants or pretty much any system is you got to explain to them what they're doing and why you're doing it. And we say, you listen to the podcast. That's a big step, but holding family counsel. This is the one where we suggest that it's particularly important for teenagers in order to get them on board, sit down. And it could be after dinner. It doesn't have to be a formal thing, or maybe it's when you're in the car together, or just get them together and say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing this Moneypants thing. And to help you accomplish your goals, but also to make sure you're ready to go when you leave home. We don't want you leaving home unprepared. And ideally, maybe they've listened to the podcast about 40 things every person should know before they leave home. And the kids have kind of an idea of, oh yeah, I'm kind of lacking in these 15 categories. So that when you have that family counsel, they're already kind of on board already with the why. And it's not as critical to hold that family counsel if you have younger kids, because it's kind of like, this is what we're doing. And the kids go, okay. But with teenagers, they need to know the why. And so that family counsel is critical.
Yeah, your 3-year-old doesn't really.
Your 3, 5, 6-year-olds, they're like, oh, cool, money. chores, like habits. Okay, cool. It's not as big a deal, not as big of a transition. But for teenagers, they need to know the why. They also need to have a voice. They need to feel like they've had a chance to express their concerns.
Well, they don't need to feel that way. They need a chance to express their concerns.
They need to feel understood, though. And they should be understood.
They should be understood, yeah.
And so it gives them that venue to discuss problems and for you as parents to get feedback. And we've even done a podcast about how to hold family counsel. So there's no reason why not to just take a couple of minutes, get your teenagers on board, and make sure that they are on board. Because if they're not on board and they don't understand the why, and so far, Hannah, we haven't run into a family yet that the teenagers weren't ecstatic about this, because it's all about independence and freedom. And they get really excited, like, wait, I get to earn that much money, and I get to
buy my own clothes,
my own stuff, and
yeah.
and I get to decide these things. Like, they get really excited about it because that it's inherent. We are independent beings. We want to be independent, and we feel good about ourselves when we can do things on our own.
Yeah.
And teenagers are right at the
it's funny. Yes,
the corner of that.
They're excited about it, but some are scared about it too. Like,
well, there's a
oh
bit
my
of anxiety,
goodness,
sure.
I'm going to be in charge of this, But it's
healthy.
It's healthy. It's exciting. It's a little scary, but it's definitely a transition into adulthood, and that's what Moneypants does. Is it transitions you into adulthood, so you're not dumping your kids off at college and going, "I've taken care of you your whole life. Now it's your turn. It's all up to you."
Good luck.
It's just this transition. So it's not a shock when you're finally on your own. You'll be like, oh, I got this.
And to kind of round out this whole section, we brought in 3 of our teenagers to kind of get their perception on Moneypants from a teenage perspective. So, and Hannah, you had some questions. So we're just going to kind of have a round robin. We have Trixie, Ruby, and Superstar 5. Trixie is 17, Ruby is almost 16, and Superstar just turned 14. So we wanted to kind of ask you guys, go ahead, Mom. What do you got?
All right. The first question I have here is, tell us about how Moneypants helps you or has helped you and helps you now.
It helps me do stuff that I normally wouldn't do. I have to work extra to get this stuff done. And it helps me do stuff I really wouldn't do otherwise.
Like what sort of stuff wouldn't you do?
I want to practice piano.
Okay.
I wouldn't wash my cow milking clothes. I probably wouldn't paint a picture each week. Basically just little things that it takes time to... I have to set aside time to do something.
I think what it helped me the most with is actually just keeping track of my money and where that goes. Knowing, okay, hey, I have this much money to spend on this much. I just really like the tracking feature. But I also like how I'm able to get habits done. Like Superstar said, I'm able to practice learning the guitar, but I also am developing healthy habits in that, getting to bed on time, writing in my journal, reading my scriptures. Habits where those take time, and you're like, oh, I'll just do that later, and you just keep pushing it off, and then you eventually you just never do it. And so Moneypants is just a little button, and it's rewarding because you're like, oh, I did that today, and I did that, oh, and that, oh, I did all these 9 things. I don't know how many there are on, but you just get all these things done that you otherwise wouldn't do.
And at the end, you get paid for it.
Oh, yeah. More rewards.
So talk about the types of goals that you set and tell us what the best and most rewarding goals have been.
Oof, that's a hard one.
Washing my cow milking clothes, because they get disgusting, and otherwise I just wouldn't ever wash my cow milking clothes.
That's been the most rewarding one for her.
No, it's been the most rewarding one for everybody.
Yeah.
So, and what else? Where you're like, I am so glad I had this goal, or I achieved it, or...
One of them is going to bed before 9.
Okay, I would say that is my most rewarding goal. Why? Because if you don't feel well, if you don't have any energy, you won't do any of the other goals. And so I actually think that one is the most rewarding. I've learned this lesson like 3 times. So obviously I didn't learn it the other 2 times, but that is the most rewarding goal to set. Get to bed 9:30, and then you sleep, and then when you wake up the next day, you get way more done. If you don't get to sleep and you go to bed like really late, then the next day you like feel like sluggish, I guess, where your head's kind of like foggy, you can't really think very well, and
Ruby's demonstrating. Okay.
And so it actually like backfires. By staying up later trying to finish homework or whatever, you actually end up the next day it takes even longer to get your homework done, and you end up going to bed later, and then it's just like this cycle, this downward spiral.
It's called the law of diminishing returns.
Sure, that word or phrase. So that one I think is my favorite one. It's also the hardest one for me to keep, but it's the most rewarding.
And now, does Moneypants actually help you accomplish that?
Yeah.
Because you have reason to do it.
So you feel like what? Okay, let me ask you this: if you didn't have Moneypants,
I think part of the reason why it helps is because when you're setting up goals, it takes so much time, like to figure out, okay, what are my goals going to be? How am I going to achieve that? And just like setting it up, you put all this. Say you put 2 hours in creating your goals. That's a long time, and so you put all this effort into creating goals that you're going to focus on the entire year. And so when you do that, you feel like you have to do it. Like, you have to follow through because you did all that work. You can't stop now. So that's why I think it works so well. Part of the reason. But there's also the reward. Every day you get to click the button and it's like, ding, okay, good job. But then at the end of the week, you get payday and you're like, oh, wow, I earned such and such. But, yeah.
how often do you get your habit bonus?
Oh, every week?
Okay.
No, okay, the habit bonus, you need to get that. That's like half your paycheck. You miss that, then you miss like so much. You have to do that. So that's another thing. I forgot to mention that, but yeah.
Okay. When you're at school and you're around other kids, your peers at school, have you noticed any advantages that you have because you've done money?
Yeah, not that we're into comparing. We want to know, like, do you notice, like, wow, if it weren't for Moneypants or if it weren't for, my background, I would be in the same boat as so-and-so, and that would stress me out.
I have, one of my habits is getting my homework done for the day. And, like, a lot of kids are procrastinators at school. And I think that helps me actually get my work done because I have reason to do my homework.
Speaking of homework, getting your homework done, I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, wow, you really like get like so much done for like your homework and whatnot. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do all my homework and then at the end of the day, I get to reward myself by playing guitar or doing like some fun activity. And she's like, oh, I always do the fun activity and then like push my homework off until like the end of the day. And they don't really have any discipline for themselves. And I feel like I learned that discipline from setting my own goals. So I guess that's one way.
And what about as far as like with money management? Have you noticed when it comes to the money side of Moneypants, what differences or advantages have you noticed?
Oh.
So many.
Yeah, like, how kids, parents, they just give them money to go buy whatever they want.
Okay, I get so frustrated when kids, they have like this nice car or this nice phone or these nice like clothes and whatnot. They don't take care of it. Mm. And they're like, oh, my parents will just give me a new one. You're like, dude, you know how much money that costs? They have no idea. So when they go off to college, they're going, oh, well, their parents are probably going to pay for that. Never mind, that's a bad example. But
when they get married,
when they leave home and they don't have their parents to pay for stuff, they're going to be like,
It's going to be a rude awakening.
Yeah. And Moneypants has really helped me know what, like, money is, how to use it, how to keep track of it, and just the deal with money.
I don't just go and spend my money on
toys, basically. I don't go, never mind, I do buy milkshakes and ice cream. It's one of the few things I buy. But I don't just run off and spend money on movies and games, and it's just...
So you think
toys.
you're more careful with the money, maybe?
with how I spend my money.
Oh, okay.
What about you, Superstar?
Well, I definitely take better care of my stuff than my friends. They'll leave their phone on the floor. They don't really have a connection with their clothes. I don't know.
Wow, I'm getting emotional about clothes.
Well, if you get your clothes dirty if they stain their own clothes, they're like, oh well. If I stain my own clothes, I'm like, where's the detergent?
That's really good. Okay. And then last question is, you guys are all going to be leaving home really soon, within just a couple years. And you know how quick Christmas rolls around each year. And we're like, it's Christmas already. Well, you don't have any more Christmases left. You only have...
I'm not going to be welcomed home.
No, well, what I'm saying is, no, I'm just kidding. You're leaving really soon, and you're getting...
You're not getting Easter either.
Oh my goodness. No.
You're getting ready to leave, and it'll be just a blink, and then you're gone too. So, how do you feel like Moneypants has prepared you for college and for being off on your own? Like, how do you because you're not there yet. You haven't been on your own yet, but that's kind of a scary thing. Like, I'm going to be on my own, and you're really going to be on your own.
Well,
How do you feel? Okay, are you scared about managing your apartment? Like, how do you feel?
Oh, wait, are you... Okay, there are some things that I am still afraid of, like, just in general, like getting a job. Like,
snakes?
No. Like... Thank you, Dad.
You've had a job, though.
Yes, but not... I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to do a job and do school at the same time. Because I've done that, and that doesn't really work. That's really, really hard. So I'm worried about that. So this summer, I'm going to have to work on getting scholarships and whatnot. But in terms of, like, how has Moneypants prepared me? Yeah, I'm not going to have any problem with running my own, like, apartment or whatever. Dorm, like, keeping that clean and whatnot. That's not going to be a problem whatsoever. And managing my money, that's not going to be a problem. It's just making sure that I have enough money, that, like, getting prepared.
So, but how do you feel like doing Moneypants is preparing you to be on your own and independent of your parents?
I think food-wise, I think I know how to cook and know how to shop.
Well, one thing is that it helps you have a more balanced life. So it's not all just academic or all just fun. It's more like balance. You have your physical, your mental, your spiritual, emotional, and artistic. I think those are the 5. But it helps you have a more balanced life. So that I will be able to take on with me when I leave.
So I thought those were, Hannah, we've dismissed our guests. I thought that was insightful.
They all have midterms right now, so.
But you asked some really good questions, like what goals do you have? What were your favorite goals? Tell us about how you feel. Like I thought it was particularly interesting how they noticed the difference between them and their peers in their personal preparation and in their personal, progress, that they felt like they had a bit of an advantage, I guess, was the big thing. But also, I liked how all 3 of our daughters who are in here, felt like Moneypants was supporting them. And it was a tool that they could use. And that's the whole point, is that when getting teenagers on board, they need to take ownership of their habits, because once they do, then it becomes a great motivator and a powerful thing for them to rely on to get what they want done. I think Ruby, Superstar, and Trixie all said that exact same thing, where if it weren't for these habits that they had chosen for themselves, they wouldn't do them. And that is very empowering. But I noticed they also mentioned, how much they like getting paid. And Trixie mentioned the habit bonus and it's hard. It's hard to get the habit bonus. You got to work hard to get it. And so she was mentioning how critical it was to make sure that she gets it and how hard she works. And anyway, I thought that was really cool. Some of their thoughts and insights into, how Moneypants is just a tool. And if you can get to that point with your teenagers, I think that's kind of the goal, is to get them to take ownership of what they're trying to accomplish and give them the tools and the support to do that very thing that they're trying to accomplish. So that's it. We kind of covered like all of our bases here, Hannah, where we talked. We started off by kind of talking about how Moneypants is not just for 5-year-olds. This isn't your typical point chart or job chart. But then we talked about how to apply Moneypants specifically to teenagers and how exciting it is once teenagers catch the vision. And then we gave a few ideas about specific things, whether it's, as you said, acne and coming up with a skincare regimen, or stretching for dance team, or SAT prep and doing, these YouTube preparation classes. We talked about that a little bit. And we also mentioned, helping teens mark their points by, hey, I know you're busy. Here you go. Here's the phone, mark your points for the day. And the teenagers seem to like that. And then we also talked a little bit about, this one mom whose kids were giving her pushback, and she finally realized, wait a minute, if I just have them listen to the podcast, they'll get the why. And all of a sudden
she didn't have enough time to explain in depth, and it's like, well, she didn't really need to be doing all that herself.
Yeah, making more work for herself. And
point them to the source.
Yeah, give your teenagers the podcast and let them listen. And after all, we do have a really funny joke every podcast too. So. And then we also talked about, helping the 14-year-old boy who wanted to move out of his home, helping him get ready. And then we talked a little bit about, another major tool would be to, hold family counsel and get the teenagers and their perspective and their ideas and the possible problems. They're going to be like, hey, what about this and what about that? Resolve those concerns. And then, of course, we got just a little bit of feedback from 3 of our daughters who've been using Moneypants for a while now, and kind of their experience, how they feel like they're actually, it's alleviated a lot of anxiety about growing up and leaving home and being on their own. And that's it. Those are kind of our thoughts on using Moneypants to support your teenagers when they in their goals and what they're trying to accomplish. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please tell your friends. They may want to listen to. They may have teenagers. They may be pulling their hair out with their teenagers, not knowing what to do. And this may be the tool that they're looking for. If you have a suggestion for a future podcast, please go to our website under support, click contact us, send us an email, and we'll get right on it. And that's it for today. Enjoy some more of our guest musician music. We'll see you next time.
Power Hour. Ooh, that sounds fun. Moneypants. What's that? Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. Moneypants. Come on. Ignite greatness in you. In me? Unlock your superpowers. Ooh, I have superpowers? Moneypants. How do I do that? Cash. Ooh, I like that. Money. Oh, even better. Tell me more. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about now. Talk about cash. What? Cash? Money. Yeah, money. I like money. It's time for you. For me? I'm so excited. Money pants. Yeah, give me some money pants. Oh, yeah, money pants. I want money pants. Every day. All I want. More Moneypants. Me too. Moneypants.